Wine O'Clock Show is brought to you by the Vibe Hotel in Rushcutters Bay. When in Sydney, play and stay at the Vibe Hotel. Cheers. John and Trisha, welcome to the Wine O'Clock Show.
Lovely to see you.
It's Friday and it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in Sydney, and it's time to wind down from the week that was. And it's been a big week. Married at First Sight started back on Monday night with a bang.
Massive week.
Week, and it's been wedding week.
Yes, and there's more to come.
Yes. Now, the Married at First Sight from the beginning has been quite controversial. What do you honestly think that two people can fall in love at first sight?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think they can. Many people have experiences of that. I do believe Prince Harry said he fell in love with Meghan first sight when he looked across the room and saw her. So I think there's attraction at first sight. You have to be a bit careful between romantic love and enduring love, but there's definitely that spark at first sight.
Yeah, and even from series 1, we've had a successful couple with Alex and Zoe. They have a child now. So the process that we put these couples through does work.
Yeah. And season 2, Erin?
Yep, Erin and Bryce are still together as well.
Yeah. One of the things I think the show wants to show Australian public is how simple relationships can be. And do you feel like going into this experiment that is working?
I don't know about how simple relationships can be. We haven't quite cracked that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, when they watch the show, I think one of our roles is to give insights into the dynamics that are going on, perhaps to teach people what not to do, or if you are single, what sort of type of person you may need to be thinking about moving forward. So there is some bits of learning along the way that we can share with the audience.
Yeah, and that happens. I mean, when I see people come to my practice, they will talk about the show and they will say, my husband does that, or my wife does that, or they didn't have my back, and I learnt a lot from that show.
Yeah, there's 22 contestants this year. Do you coach and give them some words of wisdom, I guess, going down the aisle? You're about to meet this person you've never met before, which is quite overwhelming. What's some advice and tips you would give them?
Well, we don't do that. We don't get to see them until the commitment ceremonies on the couch, when they've been together for a while, and then they come and talk about their problems.
Right.
And we challenge them too.
We do.
On
I mean,
things.
we essentially are fairly, once we've gone through the testing process with them and we've made the matches, we then step back and let them really, some of them enjoy that experience, others not so much, but let it evolve and to see whether they have a connection or not. So we don't really advise them at all in that early part of the experiment. Our role starts to come in once they sort of have been away on the honeymoons, they come back, and then we really start to challenge them.
Walk us through the selection process. You've got 10 contestants. Walk us through the part of how you're going to match one person with another.
Well, we do it differently, Trisha.
Yeah. Well, we have actually this year we have 11 couples. And I just want to say it's an experiment. So once we've put them together, as John said, we observe, and that's what you do in any experiment. We just observe, and then they usually ask us stuff on the couch at those commitment ceremonies. So they go through lots of testing. So by the time they've come to us, they've had psych testing done to make sure that they are gracious human beings.
Yes.
We haven't got any people on there who shouldn't be on there.
Yes.
And then I do my testing, which is some of it's in the lab, but I look at the emotional brain. So I look at factors like resilience, optimism. So we know that if you have a good bounce back factor and are optimistic, you're going to weather those storms in a relationship much better. Look at emotional intelligence, how we can track our own feelings and those of our partner. That's really important to be able to read our partner, to know when to back off or when to say what you need to say. And then also around commitment, a bit of testing around how good are you at committing.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the pheromones.
No, that's right. And then so I get them in the lab and they smell T-shirts that we've sent out to them. So we send out these T-shirts in a Ziploc bag and they have to wear them for 7 nights. So no smellies on to make them
Is this the 22 people, so the 22 that you've chosen? Oh, okay, yep.
And no pungent foods, no alcohol if you can. So there's nothing that gets in the way of your genuine body odour. Yep. And then they come into the lab and they sniff them. And then attractiveness testing. So the basic constructs they like in a person.
Can you tell by a person's facial reaction once they've smelled the T-shirt whether they like that smell or not? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. And it's not just I like the smell. Some of them say, oh, it reminds me of home. It reminds me sitting in mum's kitchen. Oh, I feel safe with that smell. Oh, that person's trustworthy. So it's not just the odour that we like the odour, it's more about what it conjures up.
Yes.
And
what emotions it conjures up,
lots of people, and you might have done it yourself, that if you've had a relationship with someone for a while and then it breaks up, you don't kind of want to wash the pillowcase because you can still smell them. You might have done that too, John, you know?
Yeah. Guilty. Yeah. And in terms of my testing procedures, I look at different areas. Particularly personality, their attachment style, which is kind of whether they're clingy or not in a relationship, and finally their communication style. And so we do these testings, we meet them face to face, and we learn about their background, and then we unanimously put in the matches after debating about it.
Do you, is there one where you've sort of locked heads where you go, no, I really don't want that person lined with this person?
Well, there's certainly plenty of debate.
Yeah. Good debate.
But ultimately,
does Trisha always win?
Of course. Yeah. But I think you sort of want to hear what the positions are on different people. But ultimately, we all have to be on board if they're going to get in. And the fact is, in this process, we may lose people very close to the beginning of the experiment because it's very unpredictable, and some might drop out. They get anxious, or they meet their Mr. Perfect at a bus stop, and so we often have to do sort of very urgent matching closer to the time.
And 5,000 people applied.
Yes,
so it's a long process for us to do the matching.
Yeah, it's very lengthy.
And we don't put perfect together. I think that's a really important point, isn't it, John? Because, someone may have quite a needy attachment style, but we'll put them with someone who can cope with that and is really secure, and it enables them to grow in the relationship.
Like Telv and Sarah.
Yeah.
She's very emotional, wears the heart on the sleeve, does tend to want to be together with her partner all the time, and Telv has this sort of solid, down-to-earth type of approach. He doesn't get too elevated with his emotions, and he's intelligent in terms of his emotions, so he calms her.
It is an emotional roller coaster. I think it's 8 weeks in a house with a total stranger. Walk us through what they've got in store for that 8 weeks, because I think I was talking to Trish off camera. It's like 8 weeks. It's like a 12-month relationship jammed into an 8-week period.
Yeah, well, it's probably even more than that. What our couples experience in 8 weeks, normal couples would typically experience over several years. So we fire at them meeting the in-laws, living together, going away on honeymoon, even having to go to a wedding reception and give a speech to a whole group of people you've never met before. So you're learning just from that speech about the partner you've been matched with. Incredibly daunting for some people. It takes them way out of their comfort zone.
And it's a group. So they come together every week and they see other couples who may be doing better than they are.
And do they talk about like what's going on in there?
That's right. So it's intense.
The group dynamic's very powerful. I think the other thing that you get with this experiment, which is different to other shows out there, is the outside people influence them. So we have over-involved mothers, or we have toxic best friends,
Yes.
or we have
The
problematic
overprotective brother.
sisters, and we've got them in abundance this year.
Yeah.
And of course, anyone who's been in a relationship knows that those people outside of your partner really can play an influence, so you've got to be able to handle it.
Absolutely.
And what's unique about this show as well, which we talk about, is that we get grilled. And that doesn't happen on any other show on television. So the couples sit there and grill us about why we put them together. And so, you know, we've got to be on our mettle, and so
So it's
Some of them
probably
get
not
very
just
angry.
the couples, but you know, Australia seem to just want to pick on you three.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they
all your fault.
love us and hate us. You know, we have
Yeah.
we polarise people because you know, when they see couples together that are working, they go, oh, you know, those experts have done well here. If someone's not working well with their partner, there's an argument or there's a betrayal or whatever it is, you know, we're in the firing line.
Are we allowed to talk about the whole? Does sex come into the relationship during this 8 weeks, or do you try not to involve that?
Trisha's great at answering. I'll let her wax on
talk
about
about
this.
yes, well, this has kind of fallen by default to me this season.
It calms me when you start talking about sex, Trisha.
Yes, we've been quite challenging around the fact that this is not friends at first sight.
Yep.
And a lot of the couples are not actually working as a real couple, and they want to stay on the show because of that group dynamic, because they're friends and they just want to stay. So we, or I've been particularly challenging them around sex. Are they having sex? If not, why not? What are the barriers around physical intimacy and emotional intimacy? So it's, I think this season particularly is going to start a conversation about sex in the country. And what I've realised is, I mean, that's what John and I do in our practice. We talk about that with couples, but not a lot of people talk about their sex life.
They don't. It's almost like a taboo, like you don't go there. Yeah. Why is that?
Well,
They're awkward.
yeah.
You know, they're body conscious. And I mean, in the experiment, these guys, you know, haven't really got to know each other in terms of their personalities and what makes them tick, let alone, you know, what they're like when they're naked.
Yeah.
So it's a real leap for them, but that's one of the, you know, really interesting parts of the is when you navigate that question. You know, some of them go, let's get naked early and go for this on the wedding night. Whereas others might wait till week 7 or in fact not have sex at all.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not just about sex, because I talk to them about how important sex is in the relationship, sex in the brain. It's a very bonding thing to do, which is why if we stop making love with our partner, we can see the relationship disintegrating. So it's an important thing, and it's usually one of the first things that go if you've got kids, you're tired, you're busy, you know, so you've got to make time for that. So I talk about that with the couples. And we have this season, we actually have more of the women are wanting to make love, but it's the guys who are standing back.
Oh, really? That's interesting, isn't it? This is the 5th season.
5.
And you guys have been in since the beginning.
Yes, Trisha and I were there right from the word go.
Yeah.
We were, scared. We didn't know what we were getting into. It was a crazy concept that came out of Denmark. You're matching strangers who marry. Will they fall in love or not? And we went through this very exhausting audition process, and we got through it. And we kind of thought after the first one, oh, I don't think this will have.
It won't take wings.
It doesn't have any legs. It won't go anywhere after this. And it's just exploded, hasn't it?
It has. And even that first series, Channel 9 didn't expect it to do so well.
What brings you back every year or every season? What brings you back on board?
Oh, well, I'm fascinated by the people who apply.
Yeah.
And every season is so different. It has a different flavour, doesn't it? The people are just getting people together and matching them, and the group dynamic, and it goes, wow, what's going to happen this year? But people are gloriously individual. You know, we put them together on scientific theory, and then the individual.
I was going to say, then it's the people, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can sit there and go, you know, I match these two, but it's the person, it's the person's personality and those two individuals that will make a relationship than, putting two pictures together and going, yeah, they'll work.
And they're under so much pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are courageous, aren't they?
They're very brave.
They're doing it all in front of cameras. They, have got this relationship on steroids.
24/7. Can't get away.
Tough.
Look, for me, I keep coming back because it's exciting and unpredictable.
Yep.
I mean, we actually don't know from week to week what's going to happen with these guys.
Let's talk about Dean, because he's been
Polarising.
yes, he's come out. He's got traditional views.
Yes.
Was it hard to match someone with him who has such strong opinions?
Well, I'm not sure whether he has. In 2018, his views are traditional. He has a particular view, but I think those views are now changing. We don't judge people, and he is representing a particular part of society, and he's entitled to his opinion. There's more to Dean than what you just see. But I think, he's got a conversation going, hasn't he?
He has, and in terms of being able to match him, he was actually someone that we matched quite
quickly.
easily. Yeah, there was a number of people that really were particularly outspoken, that they were attracted to someone who, is decisive or likes to take the lead, and so I mean, I'm excited for what the people out there are going to see with Tracy and Dean as they move along.
Do you think he's got a point? Like, with the, I do believe that there is still a lot of women out there who like to be taken care of by their man, who like to have that dominant figure and, somebody who takes the lead and somebody who will protect the woman. And, and there are women that love that. Do you think he's on the right track with what he's come out and said about, there's a lot of relationships where the women are taking control and not the men?
Well, look, for me, I wouldn't hold his views.
No, okay.
But I'm not here to say whether he's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I would just say that there are people out there that want to be with someone like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got to know him very well in the process, and I think what you'll see is different layers to Dean.
By the looks of the promos we've seen on Channel 9, it looks like it's going to be one of the best season yet. What have the viewers got installed this year?
Oh, they've got lots. They've got...
Are you allowed to give any info
I
away?
wasn't sure whether we could top season 4 because it was so massive and full of, these huge dramas. But no, we have.
Yeah, we've got the scandal, big scandal.
There's a big bombshell that occurs early on in the series that we've never seen before.
That's right. Wow.
The group dynamic this time around is extremely vocal, and we have some very, very outspoken women in the group, which I think last year perhaps they weren't as vocal. This year,
You've got very strong women.
very strong women, which is fantastic.
Mothers-in-law that not happy with what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, we have I think bigger personalities and more diversity.
Yeah, and a diversity in culture and also in age. And I think that made a bit of a difference. We've got some couples in late 40s, early 50s. So that I think had an influence on the group.
Things happen on this series that we have never seen before, and maybe that's why it works, because people will see through a show if it's, orchestrated and scripted, and this is not.
Yes.
And so when they're watching our reactions, they are real.
Yeah. And this is the difference between a reality show and our show, that we're an unscripted television show. You could not dream up the script that unfolds for season 5. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
Do you ever get taken back about some stuff that happened?
Totally.
I'm just going to get my thought for a minute on that,
Totally,
shocked.
and
Totally
it's
shocked.
all filmed as live. So our responses are a part of the show and they're genuine. And I think we've got lots of genuine people this year.
We do.
Different shapes and sizes and people, from different walks of life. So it's pretty much a cross-section of Australia.
And it is an experiment. Is the experiment working, or do you think it's, how are you finding the experiment and the process?
Oh, it depends how you define experiment, right?
Yep.
So we have all these theories, we test them, but everyone's unique.
Yeah.
So you know, things happen, and that's what life's like. But also, I think one of the important things with the show is that people who have been on the show, and maybe it hasn't worked out for them, and that's really sad because we really want people to find love on the show.
Yep.
They say they learnt a lot about themselves, and they've also learnt what type of man that is good for them.
Yep.
Not the type that they think's good for them. So they learn about themselves.
How would you like to see the show continue on going forward?
We want to see more fairy tales,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and the more people that we can get happily ever after, I think would be great. And I hope also for it to continue to be really surprising and unpredictable.
Because you've got your own practices. You still practice outside of the show too,
Yeah.
don't you? That's.
Yeah.
Do you have any after the show's finished? Do any of your contestants come and actually see you for more advice?
No,
No.
and that wouldn't happen.
No. Okay.
We would refer them on to
Yeah,
somebody
okay.
else.
So what's very clear with our show is that the participants all get round-the-clock psychological support from
Yep.
independent psychologists, not from us.
Yep.
So before, during and after, they are fully looked after. And we really have, although we're in the experiment with them and we've met them and tested them, we really are separate to them.
And that would be a conflict of
Yes.
interest because we'd put them together.
What's your favourite part of it, Tam?
Yeah.
I love. Look, I love watching all the weddings, but I also love watching how people interact with one another. So when they have a situation that arises, how the two of them react to it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a people person. I'm a people watcher, so
Yeah.
I just get in there and watch that and go, oh, you
How
know.
they resolve conflict.
Yeah, how they resolve
and-
conflict
yeah.
and like what you were talking before. You know, you get a lot of people that probably say, oh, I saw this on the show. I often sit there and say, I'd love to have little cameras in my house and like just
Ooh.
send it to Dr. Phil or something, you know, and
Yeah.
go psychoanalyze my husband.
I'm sure he's looking forward to that, Tam.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the right, obviously, and he's in the wrong.
That's right, that's right. So Tam, if you look at, like, there's a lot of renovation shows, there's cooking shows, obviously, you know, there's health and fitness shows. Why do you reckon this one has kind of taken the population by storm?
I think because it is so raw and so real, watching the drama of it all and seeing that, well, actually, with the right coaching and the right advice, you can actually get
So
through
it's
anything.
the arranged marriage aspect that
Yes.
fascinates
Yes.
you.
It's the not knowing, you know, who you're
Not
going to
being
go
in
in.
control.
Yes. I'm a control freak. It's not.
No, everybody wants to be in control of their destiny, and we're putting two people
And I think
together
it's the
who.
fear of like, how are they going? What if they match me with the wrong person?
Yeah.
Or what if, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't like this person. I've got to be in the house with them for 8 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of facets
Yeah.
to it that I think keep people coming back.
Yep.
Keep-
You know,
and
it's-
keeps
it's-
us coming
Yeah, it's different, you know,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah.
We would never have thought that it would get to this stage, and
Yeah.
it has. So.
Yeah. Well, cheers. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Love
You're
being here
welcome.
at
Cheers.
1 o'clock.
Yeah,
Fridays.
this is
Now,
nice.
You ask the hard questions, Tam.
did I
Yeah.
Love it.
try?
It's usually us on the couch asking the hard
Oh, I
questions.
know. I put you under the
Yeah.
microscope. The big,
Good.
big. Married at First Sight is on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Indeed.
7:30,
30, Channel 9.
Channel 9. And if you're really keen, on the Wednesday nights, flick to 9 Life straight after the show, and you'll get Talking Married, which is a show about the show,
Wow.
where we dissect all sorts of behind the scenes.
Is it like a
and
goggle box for
yeah,
Google box for.
it's fascinating. It'll be headed up by Jane as a party and some other major panellists as
Oh,
well.
fantastic. That'll be interesting to watch too. Cheers. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Perfect. Bye.